You better, who would do it here? You better write to Hafiz Muzaffar. He would produce that particular hadith. So it is not surprising. Hazrat Masih Maud acted exactly as he found Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam acting in a certain situation. Because he did not impose his own will. He was just representing Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, a Maulvi, a bigoted, small-minded person may say that it is shirk. He is worshipping and yet he attends to another person's call. And they simply miss the point altogether. Even at the cry of a child, you are expected to shorten your prayer, even if a wild animal has visited your house. You are expected to leave the prayer and attend to that animal first. And if a mullah is eating food, he is to prefer his food rather than go to the prayer. All these things are not objectionable. But if the Prophet calls and you do not pay attention to that call, they say this is to Islam, and to pay attention to the call of the Imam is against Islam or the unity of God. This is all nonsense. They should understand the essence of things and know that the call of the Imam is not as against Allah. Idolatry is something quite different. It is for the sake of Allah. And to accept the order of the Imam is worship. So it is worship against worship, not worship against the materialism. Islamic concept of prayer and the situations of emergency is very wide and elastic. Within the scope of that concept, you should train yourself. Please. Second question, yes.
Again, sir, quote from Hazrat Masih Maud. आपने फरमाया कि अंबिया के इनकार की वजह से दुनिया में अजाब नहीं आता, बल्कि अजाब महज शरारत और फसाद की वजह से आता है। अगर लोग तकवा की ज़िंदगी बसर करें तो महज अंबिया के इनकार की वजह से इस दुनिया में उन पर अजाब नहीं आ सकता।
Very right, yes, this is correct.
And then there is one kafara for one
Mahz, have you not read the word mahz?
Yes.
What does mahz mean? So that explains your second question. When Hazrat Masih Maud has said महज अंबिया के इनकार की वजह से अजाब नहीं आता, that means that because it is not the only reason, but to reject अंबिया is also a reason. It is not ruled out. This is why Hazrat Masih Maud has said that read my books 3 times to fully understand them, because his language is very correct and methodical, and it is so important to pay stress, to understand the wording, that if you just loosely go through it, you may infer completely something different than what he wants to say. Is that all?
No,
yes. Just a minute. Darsal has come to help you.
Referring to the verse وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ, we have evidence that there had been a prophet in Far East, in China. And we also know that there has been a prophet in Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. And there is no doubt whatsoever there had been a prophet in Persia. Likewise, there have been many prophets in the Middle East. is there any evidence that there has been a prophet in Russia or African continent?
Russia, by Russia you mean Russia, geographical Russia of today, political Russia of today? Russia of today covers a large part of Iran and a large part of China, originally, which belonged to the Mongolians.
Well, in that case, Russia is covered also.
Of course.
It's only African continent.
Yes. Because European Russia came into being much later.
Yes, yes.
It was the Asian Russia, in fact, which ruled the whole of the Russian country. Later on, there was a Norwegian tribe, or I think it was Norwegian or Danish, perhaps Norwegian, which under King Rutsi attacked the Western European Russia and conquered it. And some people say that Rus is after his name. His name was Rutsi. So this is why ultimately it became Rusi and Russia. But whatever the reason be, he is the original empire builder as far as Europe is concerned. And even after his death, for a long time, during his dynasty, they used to pay tribute to the Khwanin of Asia. In fact, it was held under Mongolian sway even after European Russia had come into being. And it was after many generations from them that ultimately they threw the yoke of Eastern Empire and became independent entirely. So, as I have mentioned before, geographies are not fixed things. They should be read in context with the history. So there are historical geographies as well. So if you consider the historical aspect of geography, then many question is solved automatically. Any other question, please? Sorry, Muhammad Abdul Rashid Sahab.
This question has three parts. You know, I was reading Tafsir Kabir, sir. I want understanding of these. इस्लामी अहकाम के मुताबिक रोटी कपड़ा मुहैया करना हुकूमत का फ़र्ज नहीं. That's the first page.
इस्लामी अहकाम के मुताबिक
रोटी कपड़ा मुहैया करना हुकूमत का फ़र्ज नहीं है.
I see.
हुकूमत का फ़र्ज है. Sorry, sorry, I read wrong line.
This is exactly what I wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
That there must be some misprint.
Yeah, no, sorry, I've read wrong, sir. And second bit is, इस्लाम ने दुनिया में माली मुसावात कायम करने का हुक्म नहीं दिया. Now this is
माली मुसावात in what sense? Read the full passage.
इस्लाम ने दुनिया में
No, this you have already read. I'll explain. I know what you mean. What Hazur Muslim Maud meant. The fact is that there are two aspects. One needs, and one the manner people are permitted to earn, and the limitations imposed upon the earnings. As far as the earning is concerned, there is no injunction of the Holy Quran or of the tradition of Huzur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam which prohibits private interfere or individual enterprise, private enterprise and individual enterprise. And there is no limitation imposed upon what an individual may earn. So in that sense, there is no mali musawat. As far as your capabilities to earn are concerned, you can earn as much as you please. And perforce your money will not be taken and distributed to others, nor your means will be appropriated. But there are certain injunctions of the Holy Quran and of interpretation of those injunctions in the